All right. I think we are live doing the weigh in recap for this UFC Vegas 24 card. First ever live show doing it. Decided to give it a try. Looking forward to this card. It's a good one. Also have some live coverage coming out for the Bellator event that's going to be on very soon. Figured let's get this live weigh-in recap done. Let's talk about the fights. Appreciate the like. Probably going to give it a second before we get into it, but overall is a pretty good card from top to bottom. Not the most highly stacked card, I'll be honest. Bellator definitely competes this week, but good action throughout. I'm looking forward to it all. First fight of the night, Gravely Birchak. There's some fun fights through this undercard. Definitely got to keep an eye on this Romanov Espino fight. Looking forward to talking about that again. Andrei Arlovski's on the card. Abdul, Razak, Alhassan moves up a weight class. Drakkar, Klose, Jeremy Stephens almost got into it at the weigh-ins. That was intense. And then Whittaker and Gastelum to kick it off in the main event. I mean, this is going to be an action-packed card. I'm looking forward to it. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Make sure you guys smash the likes. We're about to get started here momentarily. Just taking a little sip. What's going on, pay-per-view? Dizzle, my boy, how you doing, man? Should be good here, though. We're going to get into it in just a second. When will he call it a career? We'll find out, man. But all right, let's start it off with the first fight of the night. This fight here, bantamweight battle between Tony Gravely and Anthony Birchak. I'll quickly pull up the face-off between these two here. I like this matchup a lot. Birchak's a guy that's been around for a fairly long time now, was released from the UFC, or rather, I believe that he chose to leave the UFC. He comes back now, stepping in there against Tony Gravely, who I do believe is a tricky matchup for him stylistically here. I feel like it's a good fight. Definitely going to lean towards Gravely in this matchup. Face-off, slight height advantage there for our boy Anthony Birchak, who is a good opponent, definitely has a good skill set, especially on the feet, knockout power in his hands. Is a guy who likes to strike, does have that questionable chin, has been put away in the past. Tony Gravely, on the other hand, I mean, high-paced fighter, does have some tremendous wrestling and really heavy top pressure. Definitely the antithesis style for Anthony Birchak here. That's how I feel in this matchup. Definitely going out the gate, leaning towards Tony Gravely. I feel like he gets it done. Could find himself getting a TKO here. Also could see a chance that we see decision victory for Gravely. I like Gravely throughout. I feel like he's pretty much a lock pick in this matchup. At the minus 335 to the plus 260, I don't love the straight up bet on Tony Gravely, but I do think he's a really good parlay addition. If that's something you're looking forward to doing, throw Tony Gravely in your parlay. I'd say he's a pretty good lock here. He matches up well versus the very tough Anthony Birchak, but I think Tony Gravely's the pick here, and I think he's going to get a stoppage in this matchup. I really do. I think he goes out there and puts on a decent performance. Yeah, he definitely could put him against the cage, give him that pressure, and get himself the win. I like him here against Birchak. I think it's a good fight to start off the card. Looking forward to talking about the next one. We do have a canceled bout as well. We'll talk about this real quick. Or actually, no, they took it off already. Canceled bout was between Zerafarin and Justine Nunes. It was supposed to be the second fight of the night. I'll be honest, it was going to be a weird fight anyways. Not missing a ton there. They did cancel it because Farron missed weight by like 11 pounds. Something just insane. She didn't even get close to the 135-pound limit. They were going to fight at 139. She missed that by a fair amount as well. So next matchup here is Austin Hubbard. He takes on a pretty fun test against Dakota Bush. Let me quickly remove the image here from the last fight. We'll pull up the face-off between Hubbard here and Dakota Bush. I like Hubbard in this fight, to be honest with you guys. I think stylistically he matches up well. He's a very good striker, especially Dakota Bush taking on short notice. Similar size for both men. No issues on the scale for either. Slight reach advantage in favor of Dakota Bush. I don't think that's a significant factor. Higher level experience for Austin Hubbard here. He tends to fare decently against grapplers. Gets put on his back a bit, but I mean, I feel like he's a resilient guy who definitely can weather the storm. Dakota Bush taking this fight on short notice. I think he's going to probably have some trouble with Hubbard. I'm going to predict that we see Hubbard get a late TKO or a decision over Austin Bush here. I think he has the kickboxing advantage, and I think he's the better fighter of the two, especially Dakota Bush coming out here on short notice. The bet at -190 is not a bad one. Austin Hubbard is a solid fighter, does take some losses, against bad stylistic matchup, the guys that really can wrestle him up, but I don't think this is the guy that's going to do that to him. I'm going to ride Austin Hubbard. I think he wins this one against Dakota Bush, and I do think he is a good pick for your parlay. If you're looking to parlay it, I'd put it down with Austin Hubbard. I think he's a decent one. Pay-per-view Dizzle in the comments, you think he'll get it done? I mean, if Bush pulled off the upset, it would be a pretty big one here. It's not the most widespread odds, but on short notice, he's got the tools to do it, but I don't see it. Personally, I'm going to ride Austin Hubbard to get this one done. I like the matchup here for him, and I do think he's a fun guy to watch at 155. At the -190 is not a bad bet. Not the best bet, not the most confident bet, but really a guy that should get it done. This next fight, intriguing fight, I would say. Gerald Meerschaert has struggled, 2 bad losses in a row. He takes on Bartosz Fabinski, about even odds, -115 favorite is Fabinski, +110 dog is Gerald Meerschaert. I like this matchup, especially that both guys do have some decent grappling tools. Definitely off the back, Meerschaert is game. He's fighting a guy that definitely pressures forward, grappling heavy approach. You look at the fight against Darren Stewart, Fabinski controlled him throughout, and Stewart's no easy fight for anyone here. You look at the matchup, slight height advantage for Gerald Meerschaert. If Meerschaert could get a submission, he can get a victory in this fight, but I don't believe he's going to win against Fabinski. I'm liking Fabinski here. I wasn't impressed by Meerschaert in his past few. He struggled as of late. I think Fabinski can grind out the win in this matchup, but definitely Meerschaert a live dog. Personal opinion would be skip the bet, maybe, or even play the dog. I don't love the pick. Even though I am picking Fabinski, I wouldn't have enough confidence to go throw a significant amount of money down on him. So I would say in this one, less confident pick, but definitely do see path to victory for Bartosz Fabinski in a very grappling-heavy approach. I don't know if he's going to go out there and knock out Gerald Meerschaert. Granted, it could happen. Meerschaert's been put away fast in his past 2, but the guys he fought were pretty difficult opponents. Hamza Chimaev and Ian Heinisch in those 2 matchups. I'm excited for this fight. I think could potentially be a ton of grappling, not a ton of striking, but I do think Fabinski on a decision win is a very realistic outcome for this fight here. Should be good, though. I do have hopes that we could see some fairly good entertainment out of this one. But there's also the chance that it's very grappling heavy. And if you're not a fan of cage work, you might not be a fan of this fight. Women's matchup here. I like this fight a lot. Jessica Penne, not super active as of late, takes on Lupita Godinez. Lupita's a difficult girl to deal with. 5-0 as a professional. This is a big opportunity for her. I'm excited to see what happens between these two when they step in there. Let's get the image from the weigh-ins real quick. We'll get the face-off between both of them, and we'll talk more about this fight. Jessica Penne back after some time off. She's not very active. She's only fought in the UFC, I believe, 4 times, and she's an Ultimate Fighter veteran dating back to, I believe, like 2015, 2016. So not a ton of activity for her, but does have a good skill set when she was in her prime. But at this point, I don't necessarily think she is in her prime. I think she's an aging girl who was never at the top of the top, but was a competitive fighter. Lupita Godinez should beat her in this matchup. I like some things for Godinez. The striking is good, but definitely the boxing skill. Her hands are definitely at a higher level than Jessica Penne. She has good head movement and does throw some power in the hooks. I do think we can see a TKO. I'm going to pick Lupita Godinez to get it done. It's either going to be a late TKO or a decision for her. Jessica Penne does bring in a pretty dangerous grappling game with that BJJ black belt, but I don't think it's anything Lupita Godinez has not seen in training before, and I think she'll be able to handle it. So I think Lupita is the pick in this one. If I'm going to give you a betting opinion, I would lean you more towards, with this fight, parlay it. straight up bet is not terrible, but minus 300, a bit widespread. I don't have the absolute most confidence in Lupita just simply because only 5 pro fights. But really, from what I've seen of both girls, Lupita on her best should be an aging Jessica Penne, who's almost 40 years old at this point. So I'm going to ride Lupita here. I think she goes out there and gets it done and puts on a good performance. Also, I appreciate you guys for the 4 likes. And I appreciate everybody for tuning in right now. Should be pretty decent card. Exciting to see a young undefeated girl, Lupita Godinez, get her shot here. Now, this next fight is probably, out of all the fights on the card, maybe the one I'm most excited for. This is a very interesting matchup between these two fighters. Alexandr Romanov versus Juan Espino here. I like this fight. I think that both guys bring in some serious tools on the ground. You look at Alexandr Romanov, beast of a man, very heavy, known for taking guys down and grappling them and dominating. I mean, look what his opponent does, though. You know, Juan Espino is a guy known for the same thing. He's very tricky on the ground. I think Espino is the better of the two. We could potentially see a sloppy kickboxing match here between these two grapplers. In this fight, I like Juan Espino to get it done. Some people obviously on the train of Alexandr Romanov, and I wouldn't knock them for it. I mean, at the end of the day, he's a pretty good fighter. He has very good control from the top, but he's fighting a guy that does it all at least equally as good, if not better. And I like Juan Espino. You know, a lot of people think Espino's a bit overrated. I guess we're going to find out. I personally do not, but I could be proven wrong. He's a plus 115 dog. He looked in incredible shape. We'll pull up the image from the weigh-ins and talk about this face-off here. It just, to me, looks like Juan Espino's fight. He looked excellent. Has that active dad bod look. You know, in very good shape. Romanov a bit chubbier. Granted, the physiques don't matter. It's fist fighting, but I do like Juan Espino in this fight, and I'm going to pick him as the dog at plus 115. I like a small bet on him. I definitely think he has a high possibility of delivering this upset and defeating Alexandr Romanov and being the first man to do it. It should be an interesting fight, without a doubt, here between these two. All right, let's get to this next fight of the night. Main prelim here. Tracy Cortez versus Justine Kish. Tracy Cortez is a girl that definitely has a lot of hype behind her. She's a prospect, has a pretty good game. I'm not going to say I'm unimpressed. I'm impressed by her. I think she's good. Does have decent striking, but really shines on the ground with the wrestling and her top control. You look at Kish, a bit of an awkward striker who also is hittable. Sometimes, you know, makes some technical flaws and whatnot. Does throw some decent leg kicks in her matches and is capable on the ground. But I do think Cortez here is the better girl of the two. She's also 5 years younger, or rather 6 years younger. As far as the reach goes, 2-inch advantage in favor of Cortez. Pretty much everything in the favor of Cortez. I think she grinds out a decision win. I don't know if this is the most entertaining fight on this card, but I do think it's a lock pick for Tracy Cortez. I like the minus 280 favorite to the plus 235 dog. I do think Tracy Cortez could be somebody on a parlay. Do I love a straight up bet? As widespread as they are, personally, don't love it, but at the end of the day, gonna be riding with Tracy Cortez in this fight. I'm going to get her for the win here. I think that you're going to see top control throughout, and the grappling game will be the difference maker between both of these girls here. But still, good fight overall here. And overall, pretty good undercard, especially that Espino fight. I would say most looking forward to that one. Now, first fight to start off the main card, Luis Pena. He's a guy with a lot of hype behind his name, but really has struggled to live up to it, in my opinion, at least as of late in the UFC. You look at his fights, you know, losses against guys that are good. I mean, the loss in the last fight was a bit disappointing because Kamaworthy, I think, was a beatable guy for Luis Pena, but he makes some mistakes out there, some fight IQ issues, does have really good wrestling defense, and honestly is decent off his back as well. Good kickboxer, but not a ton of power. He's 6'3" at 155. There's only so much power a guy that's that thin can really bring to the table, unless he's just a God-given puncher, and I don't think Luis Pena is that guy. He's a very fun guy to watch. Alex Munoz, a beast of a wrestler, a lot of pressure forward, and I mean, he gave Nasrat Haqparast not necessarily a difficult fight, but did sit in there with Nasrat, who's a very skilled guy. I feel like Alex Munoz, a plus 120 dog here. He's a pretty live dog in this fight. I haven't been super impressed with Luis Pena, but I do think he has the tools to be very successful. I'm going to reluctantly pick Alex Munoz to beat Pena, but I would like to see Pena win this fight. But I feel like Munoz can put the pressure on him, potentially put him in bad positions against the cage. I don't know necessarily how good Luis Pena will look when he gets out there. He sometimes doesn't look great. He looks a bit flat. I'm going to pick Munoz here. I like him at a slight dog. Do I love the bet on him? I do not. I personally am not going to throw money down on this fight. I totally see a case to be made for Luis Pena, and if Pena does live up to that hype that I think that he has still there, even though with some losses, I do think he could beat Alex Munoz, but just bad performances give me a lack of confidence in him. I do think skip the bet on this one. It's a very low confidence Munoz upset pick, and the more I talk about it, the more I want to pick Pena here. Skip the bet. I do think if you are going to bet on this fight, I like the over on this one. Potentially this fight going the distance is highly likely in my opinion here. I like the distance bet the most in this one, beyond just picking who wins the fight. We can quickly look at the weigh-in image here between these two, the nice face-off. Let's quickly pull it up if I can find it here. All right, Luis Pena and Munoz. You can see the height difference as soon as I bring it up. Fair height difference, but definitely the naturally more muscular guy is going to be Munoz here. We'll see what happens when the cage door closes. A very difficult one to pick, but I'm going to ride the dog Munoz to beat Violent Bob Ross, Luis Pena. I do think it could be a fun fight between both of them. It's a high-stakes matchup, most definitely. Next fight on this main card, this one between Abdul Razak Alhassan and Jacob Malkoun. Malkoun does bring pro boxing experience, which is something that isn't really talked about that much with him. Was he the most high-level boxer of all time? No, he definitely was not. But I do think that's a factor in this fight against a guy who's a primarily striker. You're looking at Abdul Razak Alhassan. He brings a lot of punching power to his fights. He unloads, and he throws a bit too crazy sometimes, in my opinion. Leaves himself open for shots. There's going to be counters there. Jacob Malkoun could very well get a knockout in this fight. I don't have that pick. I'm not going to be riding with the underdog here, but I am going to acknowledge that there's always going to be risk with a style like Abdul Razak Alhassan, who goes balls to the wall. Granted, has had a decent chin for most of his career. Chaos Williams did kind of mess him up in that fight. But at the end of the day, most guys will not be able to easily put to sleep the explosive puncher in Abdul Razak Alhassan. I think this fight's going to be mainly striking between both of them. You do see the face-off here. The very slight height advantage in favor of Malkoun, it looks like, even though, you'd be told something different with Tapology. I guess we'll see what the UFC official measurements will be when the fight begins. I like the idea of picking Abdul Razak here. More of a riskier parlay pickup, though, at minus 290 and two disappointing defeats. But I think he gets the knockout. I'm going to pick Alhassan in the first round by KO. He is 35. This could potentially be his downfall. And if Malkoun was able to win, which, I mean, they did match him up with Alhassan, maybe is this a match to give Alhassan the momentum and move him forward? Or is there something we don't know about Malkoun? He had an 18-second fight against Phil Hawes. That doesn't mean you're a bad fighter. That means you got caught by a big punch. Alhassan has the power to put him away, most definitely. And I guess we'll find out. But I am going to ride Alhassan in the first round. But I will acknowledge at 35, who knows, maybe Alhassan's best days are behind him. I don't think so, but it's very possible. Very possible. Let's get the next fight on the card. This right here is going to probably be one of the more fun fights of the night. Bare knuckle champion Chase Sherman versus Andrei Arlovski. You look at Chase Sherman's early UFC career, I'll be honest, a bit of a letdown. Was a guy that didn't deliver the best performances. But I think now he has improved drastically. If you look at his bare knuckle experience, he was successful. He won the title, but had a draw, a loss, and a win there, but beat Arnold Adams, who's a very difficult guy to deal with the striking. I like this fight. And I do slightly favor Chase Sherman. Arlovski, an older guy. He likes to close the pocket and unload. And sometimes he is hittable as he enters range. I feel like Chase Sherman has definitely gotten better over the years. I would say Andrei Arlovski, at the age of 42, versus Chase Sherman, who I believe is in his prime at this point. I see why the odds are pick'ems. Arlovski, the minus 125. Sherman, the plus 100. I like Chase Sherman for the upset at plus 100. It's a riskier bet, most definitely, and I don't think it's the most rewarding, especially how close the odds are and how good Andrei Arlovski tends to do against guys coming up who have some momentum rolling behind them. He tends to beat a lot of those guys, but Arlovski's a beatable fighter. We've seen guys do it to him in the past. I feel like Chase Sherman could do it. He's a dog. He takes a good punch. I think he lands a good punch, and I think he beats Arlovski by TKO in the third round here, and I could see Arlovski taking the first two. Arlovski hasn't gotten a stoppage in so long. He doesn't knock people out much anymore. I am going to ride Chase Sherman for the upset. I like the upset pick here. At plus 100, I'm going to play with it just for fun and see what we can do, but I do think we can pull off the victory for Chase Sherman. I am going to ride with him here in this fight. I like Sherman. Inch taller, inch longer as far as the reach goes, and I do think he's a nasty guy when he gets inside, and I feel like he could beat Arlovski, especially an aging Arlovski who's taken a ton of damage throughout his career. Definitely a chance, though, Arlovski goes out and dances around for 3 rounds all over Chase Sherman, but I think Sherman's a beast, and he's going to be game here. He knows this is his biggest opportunity of his career. Not much of a size difference between these two, 251 for Sherman, 250 for Arlovski. This is an even fight here, and I see why the odds are so close, and I do think we're going to see an action-packed heavyweight battle here between two strikers, which you can't complain when you have two strikers going in there and going for it here. The next fight on this card, let me quickly pull it up. Let me quickly answer a couple comments here. Is Arlovski a stupid parlay? I don't know. I mean, I picked against him, but at the end of the day, anything can happen in fighting. So it really could go either way. If you want to put him down, if you're feeling that confidence, go for it. But I am going to ride with Chase. But there's definitely a case to be made for Andrei Arlovski winning the fight as well. But let's talk about this fight, the co-main event of the evening, Drakkar, Klose, and Jeremy Stephens. This is a fun matchup here between these two guys. You look at Drakkar, Klose, and him. They got into it at the weigh-ins. Stephens shoved him. It was an intense scene. And this is an intense fight between two dynamite strikers, two guys that are going to be looking there to mix it up. Jeremy Stephens is very explosive with his knockout power. Drakkar Klose, not the most knockouts on his resume, but definitely brings some power in that rear hand. I like this fight a lot. I think it's action-packed. I hope that we see striking between these guys. I hope that Drakkar Klose doesn't mix it up and just try to wrestle Stephens. I don't think he'd be that successful doing so because Stephens, decent with his defense, has given most guys he's fought at featherweight difficult tests besides Kelvin, who knocked him out in the last one. I believe this fight is going to be action-packed. Fight of the night, highly likely. I'm going to ride Jeremy Stephens here. I think he can get a decision or a TKO. I wouldn't be shocked if it goes all 3, but I also won't be shocked if they decide to throw down. You look at that Beneil Dariush fight with Drakkar Klose. They went after it, and that fight was crazy. You look at the knockout there. Yes, it was not in Drakkar Klose's favor, but it definitely earned him some fans because he brings it. I feel like him and Stephens are going to bring it as well. I'm going to ride a Jeremy Stephens knockout. I can see it inside the distance. I like it in the second or the third round. I think it's going to be an excellent fight. If you're into striking, this fight right here, this co-main event is the one you're going to want to tune into because it's going to be fireworks. At minus 125, I like Stephens. I think he's definitely a good pickup for a straight-up bet if you're looking to throw something down as a parlay addition. A little bit riskier. If you want to put him on a riskier parlay, definitely could be possible. I do think he has the tools to beat Drakkar Klose, but at the end of the day, Stephens lost 4 of his last 5 with 1 no contest in there, whereas Drakkar Klose 3-2 in his last 5. Slight momentum in his favor, granted. Level difference of competition stands out to me. Jeremy Stephens has fought the best featherweights on the planet. Drakkar Klose in his last fight did fight a pretty good lightweight in Beneil Dariush. Will the weight move cause some issues for Stephens? Maybe. I mean, he wasn't the greatest lightweight of all time. He was a contender at featherweight, but I still think here he can beat Drakkar Klose in this matchup and get a victory in this co-main event. It's a stacked card, man. It's a very fun one, especially with some OGs. And I like Stevens moving up. I like the idea of him not cutting as much weight. And let's see what he can do against Drakkar Klose. I don't know if he makes a world title run at this point of his career, but he's definitely a guy that can be involved in some fun fights. Now the main event. We've arrived here. It's an exciting one. Robert Whittaker takes on Kelvin Gastelum. This fight here is huge. This fight here is in the middleweight division between two of the best in the world. If you guys haven't yet, make sure that you smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. This is a sweet main event. Let's talk about some things. Robert Whittaker, 2 impressive wins, showed heart against Darren Till, was put down and hurt there. Darren Till's a hell of a striker, but he was able to do his own damage and win that fight on the scorecards. In his last fight, I think had the best performance we've seen out of him since probably the first fight against Yoel Romero. He looked excellent. He beat the brakes off of Jared Cannonier, and Jared Cannonier is a scary middleweight, a guy that brings in a lot of power, a guy that's an explosive kickboxer, a guy that was riding a win streak and had a ton of momentum on his side, and Robert Whittaker shut him down for 3 rounds, beat the brakes off of him. You look at Kelvin Gastelum's last 3. He gave Adesanya hell in that fight. Best performance of his career in a loss. Honestly, it was an excellent fight. Have to respect Gastelum for that. And then you look at his next fight. Boring fight against Darren Till. A lot of clinch work. Till gets a decision. But at the end of the day, Till fought Gastelum with the anti-Gastelum game plan. Then you look at his recent fight against Jack Hermansson, got caught up in a heel hook. It was a fluky situation. Jack Hermansson's excellent with his jiu-jitsu. Can you really hold that against him that much? No, but it is a loss. And then his last fight, Ian Heinisch and him, not that it was a competitive fight. It was definitely Gastelum's bout. It was in a few Kimuras, but nothing super close to finishing. Just kind of a disappointment as far as not being able to put Ian Heinisch away. I think that would have been very impressive and definitely shot his stock way up. He gets a chance against Robert Whittaker, who's looked very good as of late. They were supposed to fight at UFC 234 some years ago, I believe. And now they're going at it years later. Not for the world title, but definitely contendership on the line, especially in the favor of Robert Whittaker. If he wins, I see a world title shot for him. They're going to go get down, and they're going to get into it. Both of them are very good on the feet, but Robert Whittaker, the more dynamic kickboxer of the two, he also has faster movement. Kelvin Gastelum, when he's at his best, has some of the slickest boxing in the middleweight division, but I don't believe he's been at his best. Has that fight going back against Israel Adesanya, did that take a lot out of him? Did he lose a piece of himself in that fight? Because that was a brutal war. That was a fight that takes years off of your career. I think that this fight is going to be excellent, and I do think it's going to be very entertaining. I have to right out the gate lean in favor of Robert Whittaker. You look at Whittaker's past few, his kickboxing is a serious advantage against Kelvin Gastelum. The takedown defense of Robert Whittaker is some of the best in the game. He beat Yoel Romero twice, even though one decision was controversial in most people's opinions. I think he's going to go out there and get a W over Kelvin Gastelum in emphatic fashion. I think he knows if he's entertaining, he's going to get himself a world title shot. I'm predicting TKO here. That's going to be my pick. TKO victory for Robert Whittaker. I think he does it in the 4th round, and he gets himself huge win. Even though Gastelum has struggled as of late, beating Gastelum is still a good name on the record, and the momentum. Now you got 3 fights in a row. I don't think you can deny Robert Whittaker a world title shot if he goes out there and beats Kelvin. In my opinion, him beating Kelvin Gastelum will now be 3 straight, 3 impressive wins. I think you're probably giving him a title shot. Him and Adesanya run it back. I want to see it again. Granted, I definitely lean Adesanya even in the rematch between those two, but still a fight that I think a lot of people would like to see run back. If you're looking at the betting lines for this one, minus 275 favorite is Whittaker, plus 210 dog is Kelvin Gastelum. I like the favorite Whittaker in this matchup, and I'm strongly confident in him. Gastelum obviously will be bringing a puncher's chance, but I don't think that's enough here. Robert Whittaker gets the win. I think he puts on a hell of a performance, earning a ton of respect from the fans. And I think will be back right on the pedestal, #1 contender. I think he is probably the guy to challenge Adesanya in the next fight. If it would have been Darren Till fighting against Vettori last week and he won, I could see them end up giving it to Darren Till, just how Adesanya has asked for that fight, but that's not the case. Darren Till's out for a while. Robert Whittaker is right towards the top, and a win over Gastelum, to me, earns him that world title shot. Should be an excellent fight between both of them. Overall, a pretty fun card. I like these events. I mean, good UFC outcome here. I think no matter who wins the main event, it's going to be a fun fight, but definitely strong favorite Robert Whittaker in my opinion. Throughout the card, if you're looking to play some bets, we'll dive a bit deeper in the betting preview for it. I like the ideas of a couple parlays. Definitely play it safer with more like 3-fight parlays. Maybe you could push a 4 if you want to take some risk, but I wouldn't be stupid here and risk it all and go out there and just put a little bit too much there. Hold on one sec. Just had to double check something. All right, so let's talk about some parlays for this card. I'll be honest. Looking through here, I like a parlay between 3 fighters. I'm just going to give you one 3-fight parlay, which I think high likelihood of success. Very high likelihood of success. We're going to ride with, on the first fight of the night, I'm going to pick Tony Gravely. I do like the idea of having him on my parlay. Now, gonna skip the women's fight here. I think these are riskier. Malkoun Alhassan is riskier. I like the idea of Whittaker on the parlay at the -117, and I like the idea of Stevens. It's a +220, +244. It's definitely riskier. It's not a guarantee, but I like this parlay. I'm going to call this a moderate risk parlay. I think it's one worth talking about. I don't want to talk about something that's going to be -250 that you guys then have to put down. You're better off doing a straight up bet at that point. At +244, this is a very winnable parlay, and I think high likelihood of success here. That's the parlay I want to talk about. I'm going to play that parlay myself. Wish me luck. I believe we'll have success on it, and we're going to hit big here at the +244. I'm excited for this card. Overall, going to be an excellent event tomorrow. I have another live stream that's going to be starting fairly soon. We're going to be talking about the Bellator card. We're going to be doing a live stream for that, breaking down the fights as we go. Overall, should be a good event. I appreciate everybody for tuning into this. If you haven't yet, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you guys think of the live streams. You want me to continue with doing live streams for some of the cards, or do you like when I just stick to the pre-recorded videos? So let me know in the comments what you guys think. Pay-per-view Dizzle, appreciate you tuning in and leaving some live chats out there. I respect your parlay. Personally going to disagree with that main event pick. I'm riding with my boy Robert Whittaker, but definitely MMA. Crazy things happen. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Check out the social media too. Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And I will see you all in the next video.